everyone. Welcome to today's special episode here on the Product and Packaging Powerhouse. I am your show host, Megan Young Gamble, and also Chief Project Officer at GLC. And this is a very special segment because not only is it celebrating my personal holiday, my birthday, but it's also the second anniversary since the Product and Packaging Powerhouse came to fruition. So this is a two-in-one celebration, and it's really three-in-one because I have a panel of powerhouses that are joining me for today's topic. Because if you've been hearing about the buzzwords circulating all around the internet, sustainability, which we all have, around tariffs. We've all been feeling the impact around tariffs and seeing how it's impacting the environment and also our economy, and also how we can leverage AI into everything we do. We're going to be talking about all of that on today's roundtable conversation with my powerhouse guests. So, if this is your first time here rocking with us, welcome to the house. If you are new and a returning listener and viewer, welcome back to the house. So I'm so excited for today's conversation, and we want to go ahead and get into introductions of our roundtable powerhouses for today. So I'm going to do a brief, pretty much introduce you all by name, but I would love for you all, my panelists, to introduce yourselves in 30 seconds. So that way we can give the audience a little bit of context of who you are, where you work in your industry, or your expert of genius. So we can get right into the conversation for today. So I'm going to start off with Emily to have you introduce yourself for today.
Yeah, happy to. And thank you so much for having me here, Megan. I'm really excited for today's conversation. So, my name is Emily Friedman. I am a senior editor for covering recycled plastics markets at a company called ICIS. If you're not familiar with ICIS, we're a global provider of data and intelligence, mostly surrounding petrochemical markets. So, anything from crude nat gas all the way downstream to where I sit in recycled plastics, we're looking at pricing, supply and demand trends, trade, and any sort of breaking news. So that means we're in the weeds when it comes to all of the good things that we're going to talk today about the circular economy and how that's been impacting virgin plastic markets and, of course, where I sit in recycled plastics.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Emily, for that introduction. So next, we'll do Nicole and then round it out with Ryan.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much, Megan, for inviting me on the podcast today. I'm super excited for this conversation. My name is Nicole Toole. I'm the founder and CEO of ECGO, and we are a mobile application that rewards people for recycling. So we know that there's a lot of updates when it comes to EPR, new infrastructure, and one of the last pieces is actual engagement with people who are actually going to be doing the thing of recycling. So our whole world is researching consumer behaviors around recycling, ensuring that we're creating solutions that get them to participate one time, but also on a consistent basis. So super excited for this conversation.
Ooh, I love that. Okay, and then rounding this out, Ryan, introduce yourself. Let them know what you do and your expert of genius.
Okay. Well, first, happy birthday, Megan, and thanks for having me. Much like Emily, I'm an analyst. I work for Bloomberg. We're a data company, and I'm one of 400 analysts that cover a variety of companies, markets, industries that help people make better business decisions. So, I happen to cover the corrugated packaging market. I've been doing this for about 5 years. Before that, I was a 10-year pro in the corrugated packaging space.
Do you hear the expert of genius from all these powerhouses? Like, I love it and so honored that they're joining me here at the table for today's conversation as well. So, first question I want to open up to everybody to answer is we've all been hearing the buzzword sustainability, right? And so, I would love for each of you all to give your definition of sustainability for your respective industry. So, Ryan, I'm gonna have you go first since you're in corrugated packaging. You're capturing a lot of data in this space from the plants all the way to production. So, I would love to hear your perspective of what sustainability means to you in your industry.
Well, thanks for that.
Put you on the spot, right?
Put me on the spot to speak for the entire industry. Um, Listen, I think if anyone pays attention to the corrugated packaging market, the thing about sustainability that is great with corrugated is the circularity.
Mhm.
Every year, they're able to capture uh, like 35 million tons of old corrugated containers and turn them into a brand new version of that. That's something that's unparalleled. We have a great recycling rate. While it's not as high as people have previously said, it's still in the probably in the mid 60% by our calculations, and it's widely known to be recyclable. Now, the majority of it's going to come from commercial and industrial sources, but that circularity is really what sustainability means to the corrugated packaging market.
Okay. And we're going to come back to that. So, because I want to ask Nicole something about her platform relative to net circularity. So, Emily, you've been in the plastics industry and capturing and analyzing the trends in this industry. So, what does sustainability mean from your perspective, in the
Yeah,
plastics industry?
yeah, so every day I'm breathing recycled plastics, but I think it's really important to take a step back from that because in the waste hierarchy, recycling is actually one of the last things that you want to do if you're looking at a sustainable world at a circular economy. First and foremost, it's reduce and then reuse. So for sustainability, though, PCR, which is post-consumer recycled content, very important. Like Ryan mentioned, we want to hit those high recycling rates. But I think again, you have to get into the weeds a little bit. So we first started really far out. Don't get locked into recycling. Now let's get into the weeds of recycling. Where's that recycled material coming from? What's the overall carbon footprint of that material?
Hmm.
I think we get really lost in the idea of, oh, this has recycled content. Okay, if you had to ship it across the country, maybe it's not sustainable as if you would have picked a different packaging type, or maybe no packaging at all if you could do a refill option. So those two things, looking broader and then getting into the weeds of the true carbon impact, that's sustainability to me.
Ooh, okay. I love that. And so, Nicole, you have an app, which you briefly mentioned about, but how are you incorporating technology as part of the sustainability initiatives that Emily and Ryan are seeing respectively in their industry?
Yeah, so I mentioned a little bit that, human behavior is the core of the work that we do. But ultimately, when we think about sustainability and um, shifting people's behavior towards sustainable practices, it's really just adopting the values of waste stewardship and just stewardship in general. How are we going, if we're going to produce a product, make a product, buy a product, how can we ensure that it has the best end of life um, process? And so I think for us and for me, how I see it is just like taking on that attitude of how can I ensure that all of the actions that I take are less harmful for my community, for my environment,
Mhm.
so that it's beneficial to the collective and to the communities that I'm within. So yeah.
Okay. And I love everybody's perspective because sustainability means something different to everybody, especially when it comes to the end user, brand owners, vendors, et cetera. So that's why I always love to hear different perspectives of what sustainability means. Not for you to speak for the whole industry, but you all are critical, to your respective industry. And you all have perspective and you're seeing the impacts that we're feeling as part of how to go towards net circularity, positive circular economy, et cetera, because that's a big buzzword. But here in America, we still are in its infancy stage, to be frank, unlike other respective countries. So we still have a long ways to go, but we're making great progress. And so, as part of progression in reference of going towards the positive circular economy, Nicole, I would love to ask this question of you, and then I'm gonna also pose similar question to Emily and Ryan as well. Is using your platform and also your company Echo, you're incorporating technology to help deem what is sustainable or what is recyclable, and also following human behaviors as well. So, how are you incorporating technology and also working with end users and also recycling facilities to ensure that the products that are being recycled from the end consumers are being properly sorted or properly recycled so we can go towards a circular economy?
Yeah, no, for sure, and that's a great starting point. So, I how I kind of started in this space was just noticing that a lot of students on my college campus did not care about sustainability, but even just like recycling. And so a lot of our like recycling bins look just like trash cans, and
Mhm.
so that's when it became very clear that um, there aren't incentives. There's also a lot of confusion around like how to actually participate in the circular economy, and those are the biggest barriers for people just engaging with the existing system. And
Mhm.
so when I started, like when our team started developing the platform, it was looking at those specific problems and seeing how we could leverage technology to make it easy. So, like, can people take pictures or do a video of what they want to dispose and it tells them what to do? And then also giving them those points for participating correctly and giving them discounts for groceries and things that they love. So, that incentive piece. But ultimately, we know that recycling in the United States is fragmented because the rules are drastically different based on location, even based on buildings.
Mhm.
So we've taken that into account in our technology as well, and ensuring that you get the most local guidelines to where you're actually situated. So our hope is by, if the industry is, hopefully there will be policy that makes everything easier for consumers to participate in the circular economy. But as it stands today, how can we take what's existing and then make it very easy for the person to recycle, know how to recycle, and then feel incentivized to do it on a consistent basis? Um, so, kind of just taking the complex and then making it very simple to the consumer, because we live in a time where our attention spans are dwindling down a little bit, especially for Gen Z, which I'm a part of. So how can we make it something that people can easily adopt without having to think too hard or yeah, go through that. So yeah, that's kind of how we're tackling it.
I love that. And next questions, picking back off what you mentioned, Nicole, in reference of leveraging technology. So, Emily, travel around as a plastics editor to speak at different events. And so, earlier this year, you were at the 2025 Recycled Plastics Market, and you were talking about the impact of plastics and also what you're seeing. And so, I want to share with our listeners and viewers that ICIS reported over 7.5 million tons of U.S. mechanical recycling capacity across PET, PE, and PP. There's not a lot of infrastructure around this space due to quality constraints. And so that's where technology can come in. And so, Emily, my question to you is, from what you're seeing respectfully in the plastics industry, where do you see the tech innovation like digital sorting and AI enabled quality controls or more, how that can make an impact towards the circular economy?
Yeah, that's a great question, Megan, and a really important issue to highlight. The fact that here in the US, we have an abundance of recycling capacity at present for plastics, but it's being underutilized because of many factors.
Mm.
So, one that you mentioned, because of contamination and feedstock issues, where Nicole's tool can really help us clean up these streams. The other major issue being that there's a lot of recycled plastics out there that brands maybe don't want, maybe because it's black, maybe because it came from post industrial sources rather than post consumer sources. So those are two separate things. The technology doesn't really help with the latter issue. That really has to come from the brands themselves to recognize the value of that recycled plastic. But for the former, whether it is new sortation technology, we've seen an abundance of material recovery facilities. So this is where your recyclables go after they're collected from your house or from your drop-off location. We've seen many materials recovery facilities, MRFs for short, do massive overhauls in terms of their sorting technology over the last year. Part of that was for some labor reduction to help out MRFs in the long run. We saw what COVID did to our labor markets.
Mhm.
But then part of it is to create a better recycled product that then could be fed into end markets for actual recycling, for shredding and turning into new products. So AI sortation, definitely one of those things, or just even optical sortation. I think we overestimate the level of technology that our current infrastructure has. In many cases, there are places where people are still hand sorting materials. So to go from hand sorting to AI, that's a big jump. I also think that chemical recycling has a role to play in this space because at the end of the day, there will be some types of plastic that need virgin like quality parameters in order to fit the application, for example, medical packaging. And you're only going to be able to achieve that through a process like chemical recycling of plastics.
Mhm.
So, some combination of the two. There's no silver bullet, unfortunately. It's going to take many different technologies working together over a long period of time, too. I've been in this industry about 4 years now, and I thought that was going to be enough time to see this, blooming of a new world. But things move a little slower than I think we initially had hoped, and we'll have to see where we end up in the next couple of years with these new technologies.
Oh, yes. And also policies, which we're going to get into here in just a
Yes.
minute as well. So Ryan, for you to round out this respective question, how are you seeing respectfully, like in the corrugated packaging market, like how we can go towards a positive circular economy?
Well, we're already making really good strides in that way. But
Hmm.
this is a question I was going to ask for Emily because in the corrugated space, at least 80%, and by my estimation, almost 90% of the stuff that is actually recycled is coming from commercial sectors, not from the curbside. So I don't know if that's something that's happening in plastics or not, like if that distribution is similar, but that's really I think the key to improving an already good system for corrugated. It's a great system. I mean, if you think about it, when people make stuff, either the part that they're making of the bigger whole or the whole is going to ride from one part to either one plant to another in a corrugated box. And when they get to a consumer that might be Walmart or Kroger or whatever, that consumer is going to break down that box and they're going to put it in a baler and they're going to recycle it. And that's where a lot of the volume comes from. So the untapped side is residential. We think there's probably, I don't know, maybe 8 million tons that could still be harvested from residential sources. We did a study a couple of years ago. It was somewhat supported by the National Renewable Energy Lab, and we found almost 20 million tons of OCC in landfills across the U.S. So we know that there's a lot of potential, and that was just OCC. We're not even talking about other paper products. So one of the challenges is really inspiring, whether it's a carrot or a stick, inspiring the people at the home to take a bigger role in recycling, and that's really going to be where we see the biggest difference. Like I said, we've been in that 30 to 35 million tons of recovery for the last couple of years.
Hmm.
There's a really robust export market where other countries want our old boxes because we still have so much virgin fiber in our boxes that they can use it and turn it into some really good stuff. Um, but we also have a really, you know, high demand 100% recycled containerboard system here in the US that I think the last calculation I made was close to 18 million tons, which means they're going to need almost 20 million tons just to feed those mills.
Yeah.
So we're doing a very good job as it is, but I think the hard part is going to be inspiring residents and getting them to properly recycle.
Ooh. And so, okay, so this is a off the cuff question because, like you said, it's really going to require a lot of education to have residential areas understand the importance and also how to properly recycle. So, from each of you all's perspective, what education should we provide to homeowners and apartment dwellers, etc.? And what do you think should, yeah, let's just start there. What education do you think should come to help educate homeowners, apartment dwellers, or anybody else from a residential standpoint? So Ryan, have you answer that question
Yeah,
first?
let me start with that one because I want to aim this one right towards Emily. Um, so there's a lot of confusion around plastics recycling.
Hmm.
So I think that is probably one of the biggest places to start. And and so the question for Emily, I'm going to ping it to you, is go, well, does it need to be clean? And which plastics do they want? So
Hmm.
let's start with those two questions.
Oh, okay.
My overall message is keep it simple. That is like the basis. There's a lot of wish cycling in recycled plastics, and unfortunately, a lot of it can't. A lot of it can, some of it can't. In terms of keeping it clean or not, you can't have junk in the plastic. There's some amount of washing that happens with most recycled plastics. So it doesn't have to be spotless. You don't have to like physically wash it out before you throw it in. But remember at these MRFs where they're sorting the recyclables, the way they sort recyclables is through air jets. So anytime you have leftover liquid in a bottle, that bottle's going to sink like a rock, and the air jet's not going to be able to push it to the right bin that it needs to get to. So that's a good frame of reference of like if there's enough stuff in here to weigh it down, then it's probably going to end up in the landfill, on the floor, brushed into a trash bin. So that was the first. The second about which plastics, kind of going back to keeping it simple, I tell folks, know with certainty the few things that you definitely can always recycle. And those are going to be your water bottles and your soda bottles, your milk jugs, your detergents, and your soaps.
Mhm.
Always, always, always. I would love to also put a plug out there for polypropylene, which is most often in tubs and yogurt cups. The caveat to that is unfortunately there still is a lot of other plastics that are plastic types that are used in those formats. So like polystyrene is
Mhm.
often used in yogurt cups as well. So I stick to, we call them the ones and the twos. The ones are your bottles, that's PET. The twos are your milk jugs and your soaps, that's polyethylene. And if we're doing that right, we've already made a huge step up in availability of really high quality recycled plastics. So I'm not trying to eat the elephant. Let's do right what we know we can do right.
It's real.
I'll leave it there for now, but
Okay.
willing to field any other plastics questions. And that's the second thing I'll follow up. Keep it simple, but then also it's a grassroots effort. I mean, we can try as many times as we want to put out these big campaigns and education efforts.
Mhm.
I have found the best thing amongst my peers in this industry is we become these little seeds amongst our family and friends where we get texts at 9 o'clock at night. Hey, Emily, can I recycle this? And I'm happy to be that person for people. So again, share this knowledge with your friends. Be the person that they can ask these questions to.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Be the change you want to see in the world. It's pretty much what I'm hearing. Oh, I love that. And Nicole, love to hear from your perspective on the education and leveraging technology as part of education as well.
Definitely. And I feel you on that. And Emily, like my friends text me all the time about like, can I recycle this yogurt cup or this makeup bottle? And I'm like, check your local guidelines every time. But what I'll say is I think we actually need to take a step back. And before we educate people, we actually need to talk about the trust or lack thereof in the recycling system. So I did in college, I did research around student behaviors around recycling. And one of the main hindrances that we found or that prevented students from recycling was they didn't know the impact of waste, period. So they didn't see waste that went to the landfill. You don't see it, you don't smell it, you don't, if you're lucky, you don't live near one. But you also don't see the impact of recycling. So you've never seen a recycling a material recovery facility before. So like, is it really getting recycled? And then I'm also seeing that, the custodian just dumped the recycling in the trash. So there's a sentiment, I think, in the United States, or especially with college students, where there's not as much trust in the recycling system. And so I think that is what needs to be addressed first, is like showing the impact of when you do the right thing and when you do or I won't even say right or wrong, but when you put something in the trash bin versus put something in the recycling bin. That's kind of where we need to start. And then it's okay, now that you know that this is actually happening and that this is a good thing, how can we ensure that you're always doing this consistently and putting the right things in the bin and making sure that we're putting also the right things in the landfill bin because they're not supposed to be there. So that's what I would say on that. But it's definitely, I echo what you say, Emily, on like keeping it simple. Um, if there's one, item that people are getting extremely confused about, then maybe that's worth doing a campaign around so that people understand that pizza boxes or whatever actually are recyclable, and this is what you need to do in order to ensure that they are recycled.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's what I would say on that.
Oh, I love
And Ryan,
you.
I'm
No,
sorry,
go
Yeah,
ahead,
Megan, I
Emily.
was just gonna say pizza boxes,
pizza
please
boxes.
dispel.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, listen, as long as there isn't food stuck to the corrugated, I think it's, eat the cheese, don't let it sit there. But grease, don't worry about it. It'll get screened out when it gets pre-pulped.
I
Um,
know. And
you
it's
know,
like, who's leaving pizza slices in a pizza box and
I'm
not
saying
recycle it?
don't
Like,
do that.
everybody loves pizza.
It's supposed to be eaten. I was going to piggyback real quick on what Nicole said. I am a bit of a nerd, and so 2 years ago I took a private tour of our landfill here in Wilmington, North Carolina, and it was the coolest thing ever. It was also very eye opening. That
Mm,
landfill opened in 2017, and it was supposed to have a very long life. And after only a few years, it was already 45% full. Yeah.
Mm.
So we have a waste issue. We have to figure out what to do with all of the stuff we're consuming, because ultimately, like, this is the thing, whether we're talking about recycling or reducing, we have to address the problem is our consumption, and we consume a lot of stuff. I know I yell at my family. I don't like yell at them, but I get on them about the fact that we buy food and then they don't eat it and it expires and we have to toss it. Our local landfill, if my kids would participate in this and properly do it, we could compost a lot of those fruits and vegetables that they don't eat in time, and it could go to compost and they can turn it off. We actually have a really cool program where, like at the local university, 100% of their scraps from the dining hall goes into the um, composter, and they have a pound for pound program where for every pound of stuff they feed into the composter, they can get a pound of free dirt on the back end of it.
Hmm.
And so that's just a really neat program. But it took going there and seeing the mountain of trash and seeing, like, holy moly, this is not just a, you put it in the trash can, you forget it. Like, when you
Mhm.
go, it will really recalibrate you. So that's a really big part of the education.
Yeah.
It is. I think everybody should do a tour of their local MRF or recycling center. Even like with my husband's business, Pallet Pros, we'll have to go to West Rock and you see all the trash, all the waste that's there. And you look and see the waste that's there and you're like, this could be recycled. Like I see so many pizza boxes in the trash at West Rock. It is just ridiculous. And, with me and Nicole living within the same metropolitan city, ATL, shout out ATL, okay? Drop in the comments where you're located as well at the time of this episode, but where I live in my municipality and where Nicole lives, different recycling processes, even though we're in the same metropolitan city, which is crazy. And so, from a recycling standpoint, this is my personal opinion, but I'm gonna go ahead and just I tell it like it is, like Bernie Mac, my favorite comedian. I'm gonna tell it like a TI is, okay? Which is recycling infrastructure is not consistent, and we're all seeing that, for our respective industries, which is sad, because we have this push towards circular economy. We have a lot of great efforts, a lot of stewards in the industry. We have the education in place, and like Emily mentioned, to keep it simple, but the infrastructure is not quite there yet to handle all the demand and the sorting, even with technology being incorporated. The municipalities and the cities have to have the money for the technology. Sometimes they don't, unfortunately. So, and that's just being real, So we still have a ways to go, but I am appreciating the journey because we're on a marathon. It's
Mhm.
not a sprint. What rapper said that? Nipsey Hussle. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So as we're on this marathon and we're talking about keeping it simple, we'll have policy guidelines and who should be ultimately responsible. Of course, we have packaging EPR, extended producer responsibility. And at the time of this recording, we only have 7 states that have passed legislation around this. And so I'm going to pitch this to Emily first. In the plastics industry, when it comes to packaging EPR, what are you all seeing? How are you helping to keep things simple, to educate, consumers on how to properly think about end of life use to possibly not be taxed or have a fine when it comes to recycling? So we'd love to hear your perspective in the plastics industry.
Yeah, Megan. And you say only 7 states, like that's a small number, but for brands, this is a behemoth of compliance.
Yeah,
The amount of complexity that has built up because every state is different, unfortunately.
true.
So, what items are covered, what the fee amount's going to be, and then what infrastructure is available, how the money's going to get dispersed, it's all different. So, it's really exciting. Yeah, I do think that there's a lot of hope for improved collection. That's the goal of these, is to shift the financial burden of collection from a municipality, from your city, or from you as a consumer. Some people do pay for their own recycling to the brand, the person, the producer who made the item that you eventually purchased.
Mhm.
Um, so it's too early to tell, how that's going to impact
Yeah.
supply, how increased access could impact supply. It's one thing to give someone a recycling bin. It's another thing for them to actually treat it like one. As Nicole said, I've seen lots of recycling bins that are essentially secondary trash cans as well in my neighborhood.
Hmm.
Um, But from a recycled plastics demand perspective, we are also hopeful in that there are some little policy tweaks and levers that suggest if you use recycled plastic, you could get lower fee amounts. So that's giving the carrot, as Ryan put, to these brands, to the producers to say, hey, do the right thing, make your packaging sustainable or circular, and you're going to have to pay less at the end of the day into this program.
Mm,
We'll see how it all pans out. You know, Oregon just kicked off this summer. It'll be a slew of updates from there. From a consistency perspective, the one saving grace is we do have Circular Action Alliance, CAA, who's kind of emerged as the dominant producer responsibility organization. So the player that's managing these programs being between the state government or the Department of Environment for that state and between them and the producers or the brands. Um, but we got a long road ahead of us. And again, 7 states, it is going to be a bit of a complex web to comply and how to manage your fees in each state.
mm-hmm. Oh, such a good point. And so, Nicole, with you having your respective platform, and of course, packaging EPR is a big conversation. How is your platform with Echo helping to positively contribute, to this to make sure goods are properly recycled during the end of life use?
Yeah, so the first is just helping people do the thing, which is recycling, and giving them those incentives to participate in the circular economy on a consistent basis. So that's, our full focus is helping consumers recycle and empowering them to do it. But the flip side is also on the brands end as well, because as Emily mentioned, they're having to comply with these laws. But how the one area there's a gap in is how are you going to communicate these changes to your customers? And how can you use this as a way to build brand affinity and loyalty with your customer base specifically? So we are working with brands in order to create that message, but also to create a new opportunity where consumers understand that the brand is aligning with circularity, sustainability, and really using that as an advantage with their customers and with new customers as well. I think what's happening overall is, the policy's happening, but also we are seeing climate change and the effects of it. And so I think it's not going to slow down consumer sentiment around wanting sustainable packaging, wanting more sustainable solutions in their communities. So how can you use that in order to further your brand, but also just, those sustainability goals? So that's how we're kind of working with brands to get that right messaging so that they can use it as an advantage with their existing customers and hopefully even new ones as well.
Mm, good point. Definitely good point. Ryan, round us out. Packaging EPR in corrugated space.
Well, so for corrugated, and I will say this about almost all of the commodities they're going to fall under packaging EPR. The fee structure is based on weight, and
Mm-hmm.
so the logical outcome is going to be lightweighting, and the logical outcome of lightweighting is higher fees. And so it will be very interesting to watch as people look to try to figure out how to moderate some of these packaging decisions. Um, I don't know how Emily would feel about this statement. She's the plastics pro. But I've been operating under a basic framework that says, the lighter something is, the lower the greenhouse gas emissions are. It's maybe a very simple way to say it. And unfortunately, I don't think people always see that. They're not thinking circularity. They have mixed ideas about what this is supposed to be. And so sometimes the greenest thing from like a greenhouse gas thing is a plastic version, but it's the one that's going to be hit the hardest. And so I don't know, from an industry observer, um, we're going to see a push to lightweighting. We've been seeing it over the last decade, at least in corrugated packaging. I think that's going to accelerate. We've had a couple mills recently that can now make really lightweight linerboard in the U.S. That's a new thing. They've been doing it in other countries, but it's new to the U.S. And it's going to have to accelerate if this is the direction it's going to go.
Yeah.
The other thing that will have to happen is like real innovation, not just about lighter basis weights, but stronger paper with less material. And these, it's like a similar thing that we've seen in plastics is you can lightweight, but that lightweight means typically multiple kinds of plastics that are laminated together to create the thing that you need. So I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen with corrugated. We don't see a fundamental shift of the industry, but we'll see.
Okay. Okay. And I think to everybody's point, we're seeing great traction, but we still have a long way to go. So it's the marathon, not the sprint, like we're all saying, and really seeing respectfully in our industry. And with me working primarily in the beauty industry, brands are like, I want to go to glass. Okay. But if we're talking about sustainability, are we looking at sustainable packaging, sustainable products and ingredients, or sustainable operations, which is lower carbon emissions? And then you also have brands that are like, all plastics is bad. All plastics is not bad. I tell brands this. I'm like, all plastics is not bad. And look at, if you were to shampoo your hair in the shower, you're not going to put glass in there because you're going to cut yourself, right? So
Megan,
there
but
has to
hold
be
on,
some
hold on.
functional packaging in place too.
These are plastic.
Exactly.
My phone is
Respect
plastic. My shirt has plastic. Like,
everything.
go to the hospital and tell them you don't want plastic.
I just came from
I
there.
I,
Giving
jo- I
birth.
joke I
It's not.
joke all the time.
It's all
Go to
around.
the hospital and tell them you don't want plastics. And they will be happy to give you paper, but that may be a death certificate.
I
Okay. I think
I
one of
just
the things we
respect my
have to realize about packaging, right, is
yeah.
it has to serve the function to preserve the product from
Mhm.
where it's made to where it's consumed. And sometimes it's glass that is the thing that works best.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's a steel can. Sometimes it's a plastic widget.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a paper widget.
Mhm.
There really isn't a one size fits all, but it has to be
Mhm.
appropriate.
Mm-hmm. It definitely does. And I'm going to read two comments that we received in the chat as well from our listeners and viewers. And so one person mentioned, let's see, sorry, just populate. He said, unless we put the responsibility on the producer to collect back old corrugated containers, we can't achieve 100% recycling process. Humans have a tendency that someone will collect these old corrugated containers, and when will we see who will collect and how they collect and what they will collect and why they collect? So to that point, there's so many nuances and intricacies in this process, but Ryan, based upon
I
what
don't
this
I
listener
don't know that I
mentioned,
agree with that.
you don't? Okay. Tell us why.
No, I mean all of the producers. I mean, you can look at the company data. I mean, International Paper in years past was responsible for handling over 7 million tons of old corrugated cartons. They want that stuff. WestRock was
Mm-hmm.
similar. Um, Pratt Industries, an amazing recycler of paper. And they recycle not only old corrugated cartons, but mixed paper as well. So I don't think it's a matter of them being responsible, um, or they can demand it all they want. They have tapped out. Like, if you were to go to a Walmart and you were to audit a Walmart and you go, how many, like, what percentage of boxes are going to get baled and recycled? I would be very hard pressed to think it's not very close to 100%.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not going to say it is 100%, but it's a very high number. And the
Yeah.
only time it's not going to happen is if someone knows it's contaminated with something and they just go, we know it's not going to get recycled, or it's a waxed
Mm-hmm.
box. But we actually have the exact opposite problem in some places where people, even in these industrial settings, put things into the baler that's not corrugated. We've seen bowling balls, and we've seen
Yeah.
engines. I was at a paper mill last year, and there was a car bumper was in the bale.
Wow.
So I I think we have to come back to, we're all humans, and there are a lot of people who just don't take their job seriously, and they'll do what they have to do to kind of rig the system or dispose of something they don't want to dispose of the normal way.
I have a quick question. So, because I think you bring up a great point, Ryan, about like packaging has to be able to be the best package, if you will, to reach the end consumer, in the best form. So, if it's not about like it is obviously about like having the, whether it's glass, plastic, metal, etc., that's important. But is it ultimately we need to get to just circularity of all of these materials? Like they need to be able to be recycled so that it's not in a landfill? Like, is that the conversation that needs to be shifted versus like what material is better than the other?
Um, I mean, I think circularity is a wonderful thing, but here's the biggest problem.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is it doesn't make any economical sense. So right now, if you were to look at the net value of a ton that comes out of a MRF, you're probably somewhere in the $100 range. The high end is about $140. But the cost to recover it from the curbside is as high as almost $700. So we're spending 3 and 4 times the value of this stuff to collect it and process it.
Mm-hmm.
So is circularity the right answer? I don't know the answer to that.
Mm-hmm.
I think some people would say that's a terrible business decision. You're spending so much more money to create something that's of so much little value. But then what do we do with the waste? And again, this is where the commercial setting is fundamentally favored when we think about recycling. I mean, a mass merchant store, whether it's a Walmart or Kroger or Home Depot, whatever, they get to bale this stuff and sell it at a significant rate. So if you had 1 million tons of OCC and the average price you got paid for was $75 a ton, that's pretty simple math.
Mm-hmm.
You just made $75 million selling trash. It didn't cost you anywhere near that to bale it in your store. The problem is, from a recovery standpoint, through all of our residential recovery, we recover about the same amount of corrugated as just Walmart alone through 4,500 stores. Mm. So, like, you really have to let that sink in. And that's one of the things I had asked Emily was, where do all the plastics come from? Mm-hmm. When we think about steel, we know where steel comes from. That's commercial and massive recovery facilities. It's not coming from curbside. Aluminum cans are not coming from curbside. Well, I mean, they are coming from, but aluminum itself is coming from bigger, more commercial settings. And I've heard stats from people in recovery that they say about 90% of all of the stuff that we recycle comes from commercial industrial. Yeah. So I don't know how any of you feel about that, but that's what I've heard.
It just kind of
The thing.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go for it, Nicole. No.
So we'll have Nicole, then Emily, as we round out for tech, because we could talk about this all day. I'm sure we all could. So Nicole, have you answer or respond to that, and then Emily, love to hear your remarks.
Yeah, and so ultimately, what I'm trying to understand, and I think even what consumers are trying to understand, is like, what is the path forward? Like, what is the action that I can take that's actually going to make a difference? Mm-hmm. And like, is it phasing out all my plastic consumption and buying glass and aluminum, or is it's I think it's a little bit more nuanced than that. So ultimately it's like, where, and this is kind of a question, I guess, to leave this open for everyone to kind of ponder on, is where do consumers, or like, how does residential recycling fit into all of this? If all of this is coming, if all of the recycling that we are obtaining is coming from the commercial side, or the majority of it is, then like, what is the solution for fixing it on the consumer end? And that's like a never ending question, obviously, and it's what we're all working towards. But that's kind of where what I kind of was thinking after you responded there, Ryan. But,
yeah. And Emily, before you give your remark, I would love to just share with one of our listeners what they mentioned to your point of residential recycling. And so Jay Middlebrooks, Nicole, I need to introduce you and Jay. Jay has a packaging manufacturing company here in Atlanta. So she mentioned, unfortunately, end consumers must be incentivized. It must be simple and the cost has to be minimal if we want end consumers or the residential market to really buy in.
Yeah.
So to your point, that's, I think, part of the solution is incentivizing, but what does the incentive look like? That's an open-ended question too. And the cost of it, and who's going to pay for it?
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
it comes down to. So it's definitely an open-ended question. And I think that's something for all of us to leave this conversation thinking about and the impact we want to make to the industry as well. But Emily, I would love to hear your remarks, as we're rounding out for today's segment as well.
Yeah, just want to reiterate what you've already said a couple times, Megan, which is, and Ryan has pointed it out, this is a business at the end of the day.
Hmm.
If it's not profitable, it's not going to be done.
Yeah.
I think individuals forget that. They want it to see it done just because it's good for the planet, and that's it's not the reality. To Ryan's point about where are all the plastics, there is a very healthy commercial sector of recycled plastics. I think, as we pointed out, plastics are everywhere, and usually they're mixed material, and that's where it gets really difficult. A lot of plastics in durable goods. How do you collect durable goods? Like cars, there's so much plastic that goes into a car, but it's five different types of plastic. How do you separate that easily, etc.? These are some of the challenges, and of course, residential and curbside recycling is so important right now because it's front and center in our minds. When we think of
Mhm.
the ocean and the turtle, we think of the straw, we think of the bottle. We don't think of a sinking car bumper, which there probably are car bumpers in the ocean, unfortunately.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, just those few comments just about at the end of the day, this is a business, and so it's never going to be a perfect system because unfortunately, recycling it as it stands today is not
Yeah.
profitable in that way
Hmm. Oh,
for all types.
yeah. Because
Yeah.
we have bumpers that are made from plastic. They're not made from metal like they used to be back in the day. So, we're definitely seeing the impact of that as well. So I would love to see what body shops are doing nowadays with old bumpers and how they're refurbishing them and reusing them. I know there's some aftermarket and LKQ parts um, in facilities and such, but that's a whole nother topic for another day because we can get into all of that. But as we're rounding out for today's episode, I'm going to ask one final question from everybody and would love to have you answer in 10 seconds or less. Okay. And I know this is going to be a hard question to answer in 10 seconds or less. So, Ryan, for you, in the next 3 to 5 years, where do you see your industry heading towards a positive circular economy?
More recycled mills.
Okay. Nicole, what about you? Same question.
Just more consumer participation.
Consumer participation. Okay. Emily, rounding us out.
25's been hard. The next 3 to 5 years, it's going to be a recovery. Just getting back to where we thought we'd be.
Okay. Ooh, good points. And I love how everybody gave one word, but that's very powerful. And it's an action word for everybody that mentioned it as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard from our powerhouses for today. And please make sure you get engaged with them. We are dropping their LinkedIn information in the chats for you all. We're also displaying their information as well, and their respective links and company information is down in the show notes for you. And if you don't get all of them, don't worry because all you need to do is download our free resource guide, which has organizations, tools, and systems. And so ICIS, Bloomberg Intelligence with green market analysis, and also ECO. They are three of the many companies that we are listing as part of our resource list. And these are resources that I personally use in learning about as well. So make sure you download that actual resource guide. It is free. It's just my way of contributing because if I needed a resource list of everything in one place, I'm sure you all do as well as we're navigating this vast, broad, beautiful, chaotic world of packaging and the circular economy. So please check it out. And so, as we're rounding out for today's segment, I would love to get into our featured power round. So, if you've been rocking with us, you know we end every single segment with a featured power round, and all of our powerhouses on today's panel are going to be in the hot seat for the power round. So, we do 90 seconds of fun, fast facts that we ask our guests and see how many they can answer. And then to close out for my birthday, they're going to put me in the hot seat as well. So, that's going to be quite interesting as well. So we're actually going to put Nicole in the hot seat first. I'm going to display 90 seconds on the clock
Okay.
so I can ask her some fun, fast facts. So let me just share what she mentioned with us for her fun facts. So she mentioned she used to play basketball in high school. Unfortunately, her career ended when she had a concussion her senior year. She does not play contact sports now, but she's actually a runner and completed her first marathon in March. We talked about marathon earlier, so kudos to you, Nicole. Second fun fact is her first business idea was an ice cream delivery service. I could use that right now. And then third was I used to be part of a singing group in middle school. Mind you, I cannot sing. I feel like we're all good shower singers, but that's a topic for another
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
So we're going to display 90 seconds on the clock. Nicole, you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. So if you were on the USA Olympic Women's Olympic team, name your top 5 songs that would be on your playlist to get you pumped.
That's a great question. I'm a Beyonce fan,
Okay,
so we have to do My House by Beyonce.
okay,
I'm also a Doechii fan for my
okay,
Gen Z people, so Nissan Altima.
okay.
Justin Timberlake, Rock Your Body. I love that one.
That's a
And then I'm
classic.
also a Megan Thee Stallion fan, so Bigger in Texas, even though I'm not from Texas, yeah.
Hey,
And
okay,
then lastly, I would probably do Dancing Queen by ABBA. Yes.
okay. I love it. And then if you were running the 4x400 relay, name who your teammates would be to help you win gold.
Oh, geez. It can be boys and girls. I
Yep,
can
could be
do.
combination.
I would do Usain Bolt because come on, like
Okay.
that's obviously. Gabby Thomas,
Ooh,
Shakari Richardson.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Okay. And you love it.
Yes.
Okay, since you played basketball in high school, name the top All-American game high school graduates play in that they are known to be the best all around here in the US.
Oh gosh.
So I'll give you a hint. So this organization is not the number one fast food chain here in America, probably
uh
worldwide. They've served over 1 billion hamburgers. They have a phrase, "I'm loving it."
McDonald's.
What'd you say?
McDonald's.
Yes.
Okay.
McDonald's has the high school graduates that play from all around the country to play in the top tournament.
Yes.
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 Okay. So we're at time, but I'm gonna ask you one final question.
Awesome.
So in 7 seconds or less, tell us why sustainability is important.
Otherwise, or Ryan, you could tell us what your fun facts are, and we'll just quiz you on them on the spot.
Oh my
Okay.
gosh. I don't
Got
remember
it.
the fun
Oh,
facts that I
Megan's
told her.
back.
Okay, I'm back. Okay, tech
Okay.
issue, tech issue.
No
But I'm still
worries.
here. Okay. Say it one more time for me because I missed it. I'm sorry.
Oh, we were just gonna put Ryan in the hot seat on the spot, but
Oh, let's do
now
it.
that you're back, we'll let you take over
Oh
as
no, go
queen.
ahead. Look, put him in the hot seat. Let's go. I'll start the clock. I have 90 seconds ready. Ryan, you ready?
Sure.
Okay. So his fun fact was he is 6'7" tall and loves throwing out conversions like 200 centimeters or 18 stones. So, Ryan, I want you to name the celebrity who is also 6'7". This celebrity is known as the best rebounder forward of all time, and he is known for his signature piercings and tattoos.
Dennis Rodman.
Yes, of course. Also, the motivational giant. He is the author of Unleash the Power from Within.
Is this a different person?
It is a different person.
She froze on me.
Okay, I'm gonna go to the next one. Come
These are
back to me.
tough, y'all.
I know, seriously.
I'm freezing.
Motivation with it, is that like Michael Jordan or something?
I don't know.
Tony
Tony
Robbins.
Robbins. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Probably Tony Robbins. I didn't think he
Okay.
was
So
that tall though.
you should get this one, Ryan. He is
Okay.
coined as the most recognized and popular wrestler of the '80s, and he was also born in August as a Leo.
The most popular wrestler of the 80s?
Mm-hmm.
That's Hulk Hogan.
Yes, of course. Rest in peace, Hulk Hogan. Okay.
Yeah.
So you also mentioned that you have webbed toes. So in seven
Yeah.
seconds, name as many animals as you can with webbed feet.
Ducks, the
Mm-hmm.
platypus,
Okay.
geese.
Uh-huh.
I don't know all of the other ones that fall into those categories of aquatic birds.
Okay. And dogs, of course.
Some dogs, yeah, Newfoundland.
Okay. So, final question for you. Packaging is fill in the blank.
Awesome.
Awesome. Love it. Okay. Love it. All right. And our last one is Miss Emily. So, her fun fact is her husband and I were featured on House Hunters when they purchased their first home. She went skydiving for the first time on her birthday, and she went with her grandmother. Okay, grandma. And she is half Filipino, and her Filipino family owned a coconut farm, which is used in the dramatic bombing scene of Apocalypse Now. So, putting 90 seconds on the clock for Emily. You ready?
Let's
Let's
go.
go. All right. So, first question for you is what was your experience like being on House Hunters, which is season 212, episode 11?
Yes, Engineers at Odds. It was a lot of fun. Would highly recommend anyone sign up. It was so easy to fill out a form to be on the show. But the one thing I didn't expect is you go through the house, you're saying the comments, you're just thinking about the house, but then you have to go back through the house a second time and say the exact same comments so that they can catch you from a different angle. So you have to remember everything that you said about that room or that bed, et cetera, et cetera. So that was a little hard.
Oh, that will be hard. Okay, next question. So, from your skydiving experience, first question, which birthday were you celebrating when you first went skydiving?
It was my 25th, and I like to call that time of my life my quarter life crisis period.
Okay,
So that's probably played into
I
it.
love it. And what inspired you to go skydiving for your birthday?
Just something to do, kind of on the bucket list, and said, why not?
Okay. And with grandma as your skydiving partner, what was her first reaction after landing?
I think she was just happy to still be alive. And then also proud because she has some siblings who had already skydived before her. So she was kind of joining the cool group.
I love that. Okay, and officially initiated. And what's your favorite Filipino dish or tradition you wish more people knew about?
Love me some halo halo, and you can find it at more places than just Filipino restaurants like Hawaii or other Pacific Islander areas. So it's shaved ice, evaporated milk, ubi, so yam or ubi ice cream, and then you add in anything extra you want. I like a little bit of jellied coconut, some sweet
Ooh,
beans. So good. You can customize it, can make a big bowl of it for the fam.
yeah.
So would highly recommend you try that out if you ever see it on a menu. Halo halo.
Hollow, hollow. Okay, I love it. Say it twice, and it's so good. Okay, last question for you. What's one misconception you can briefly say in 5 seconds around the plastics industry?
Oh gosh. Just that, again, we've already touched on it. Plastics are bad, but plastics are really great for the things that we need them to do, which is keeping us alive in this modern world. We really can't live without them as much as we'd like to.
Okay, I love it. Okay, oh, y'all did really good. So kudos to each and every one of y'all. Finger snaps like we're in at Speakeasy. I love it. All right, so now I'm going to be in the hot seat. 90 seconds. I'm gonna try my best to try to answer all of them. I do not know what questions are coming, but I did share some fun facts. So I'm gonna have somebody else keep time, so I'm not having to think and look at the time at the same time. Please.
I can do that.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. But everybody's gonna ask me a question, so y'all can learn some fun facts about me as well to round out for my 38 years of life as well. So
Woohoo.
I'm ready. Bring it on. I'm ready.
Do you want to share your own fun facts or you want us to read them real quick? I can
You can
either
read them.
or.
Yeah, if you don't mind,
Okay.
Emily. Mhm.
So Megan's fun facts are growing up, one of her nicknames was Kool-Aid. Another fact, which you already shared, you and your husband own a pallet distribution company called Pallet Pros.
Mhm.
You used to be a part of a dance ensemble with tap dancing as your favorite style, but now you're really into reformer and tower Pilates, whatever that means, and I'm kind of scared of those names. You're born in Houston, Texas, whoop whoop. That's
Hey,
where I'm at. Raised in Little Rock, Arkansas, and now are paying taxes and live in Atlanta, Georgia.
that's it.
And last but not least, your picture was featured in Ulta and a Kohl's makeup ad for a brand that you used to work for.
That's it.
So very, very cool.
Okay.
All right.
Cool. I'm
So
ready.
hot seat. Maybe the way we go, Nicole, me, and then Ryan. You want to ask questions that way?
Sure, let's do it.
All right.
Okay.
Let's go.
All right, Megan. So you have a lot of different businesses. If you could start a business today and it cannot be related to any of the past industries that you have worked in, what would it be and why?
Oh shit. Excuse me. Company that I would start. I would probably start a dance studio and have tap be the number one dance focus, because there's not a lot of tap classes offered. And also highlight some of the past tap greats like Gregory Hines, Savion Glover, and future present ones, Syncopated Ladies, who's toured with Beyonce, your favorite artist.
Oh, that's amazing.
Okay, good
That's
question.
awesome. Okay, pitting Nicole and myself against each other, Houston v. Atlanta. If you had to pick one city, which would it be? And then second, just favorite and least favorite thing about both cities.
Oh, so I'm gonna have to say ATL because I've been here the longest and been paying taxes here the longest. Houston, I only know because I was born there in Harris County. So ATL. Okay. Even though Beyonce is from H Town, but ATL. And what was the second part?
Just favorite and least favorite thing then about just say Atlanta since you're less familiar
Favorite
with
thing
Houston.
is the culture. I'm Southern girl to my core. Least favorite thing, not a lot of good barbecue places like back home in Little Rock in Texas.
That's fair.
Good question.
Okay, Kool Aid. Here we go. What's your favorite flavor of Kool Aid?
Oh, so it would be great all day. Then
Great.
tropical punch, and then
Okay.
mystery because you never know what you're gonna get.
All right. And outside of Kool Aid, what's your favorite beverage these days?
Oh, alcoholic beverage when I was drinking it was neat bourbon with two ice cubes. Um, Non-alcoholic drink, it would be an ice cream milkshake, Oreo flavor to be exact.
I can get behind that one.
Delish.
Yeah.
And Kool-Aid, what's behind the name? We gotta know.
Okay, so growing up, I will always be smiling. And so I just got the name Kool-Aid because, growing up, we had the commercial with the big Kool-Aid man with in the jug with the big Kool-Aid smile.
Mm-hmm.
So they would call me Kool-Aid because I would always be smiling and still do to this day.
Oh,
Yeah,
So
that's
sweet.
awesome.
yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I lost track of time, but I feel like this is about 90 seconds.
It is.
So
It is.
if unless you want to stay in the hot seat, we could go
Oh,
round two.
oh,
But
no. I'll be ready for a round two on another day. But that was a great question. So thank you all for asking and, being really great powerhouses for today. So as we're rounding up for today, because we ran a little bit over, so thank you all for your patience and staying on. Just let everybody know how they can quickly connect with you so we can make sure all your information is down in the show notes. So Ryan, have you go first?
Yeah, LinkedIn's the easy one for me. Ryan D. Fox is the handle after the LinkedIn thing. And yeah, please connect.
Thank you, Ryan. Nicole,
Same. So just connect with me on LinkedIn, Nicole Toole. We'll connect there. Yeah.
love it. And Emily,
copy paste LinkedIn. It's Emily Anne Friedman, parentheses Bautista. And then we can chat and I can share my email from there.
awesome. And all of their respective LinkedIn information and company information is down in the show notes for you all to get engaged with them. Please connect with them. As I say on every episode, our net worth is based upon our network. So make sure you are expanding your network and also think about how you can be part of the solution towards positive circular economy and residential recycling as well, because there's a lot of things we need to have in place from infrastructure, incentives, cost for it to be profitable because it is a business. But at the end of the day, if we all come together at the table like we're doing today, we can actually be the change that we want to see in the world. So thank you all so much for tuning in to today's special segment for the live second year anniversary for the Product and Packaging Powerhouse. Please make sure you do follow, like, and subscribe to all of our platforms and also our YouTube channel, and give us some love, a 5-star rating, because we definitely appreciate the love and lets us know how you're rocking with us and to bring on more future powerhouse guests as well. So listeners and viewers, thank you so much for tuning in to today's segment, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one. So talk to you soon.